A sharp crash shattered the stillness. Glass splinters glittered across the marble floor as Ethan Marlowe spun toward the sound. His keys slipped from his fingers, the clatter echoing through the cavernous hall. The lights from the city below threw pale stripes across the floor-to-ceiling windows. But inside the mansion, everything felt unnaturally cold. He'd just returned from another black-tie dinner, the applause and champagne still buzzing faintly in his ears, when that noise cut through his fog. He called out, "Rosa?" No answer, just the soft hum of the refrigerator and the faraway ticking of the wall clock. Then, faintly, came another sound, a small shuffle, the soft drag of bare feet on polished marble. His pulse jumped. He started up the stairs, but a figure rushed toward him out of the darkness. Rosa, still in her nightrobe, eyes wide with fear, pressed a finger to her lips. "Please, sir," she whispered, "don't shout." "He's walking again." Ethan froze. Who? Leo. The name hit him like a forgotten melody. His 8-year-old son, his boy. He hadn't seen him awake in days. Rosa turned and hurried up the staircase, motioning for him to follow quietly. At the landing, Ethan saw Leo in the faint hallway light, small, pajama-clad, his eyes half open but unseeing, moving straight toward the open banister. One more step and the boy would fall. Ethan lunged forward, heart pounding, but Rosa reached him first. She knelt, murmuring softly, her voice low and steady, guiding the child away from danger. "That's right, sweetheart. Back to bed now." She led him down the hall, her hand resting protectively on his shoulder. Ethan followed numbly, his breath shallow. The boy didn't even stir when Rosa laid him back on the bed. She pulled the blanket to his chin, smoothing his hair with gentle fingers. Only when Leo's breathing steadied did she turn to face Ethan. "How long has this been happening?" His voice cracked. "For months," she said quietly. "It started after your last trip to Dubai." He stared at her, uncomprehending. "Why didn't you tell me?" Rosa hesitated. "Because, sir, you were never here long enough to listen." Her words landed like stones. Ethan looked around the dimly lit room. The scattered toys, the half-built Lego castle, the framed photo of Leo with a gap-toothed grin. He wasn't in the picture. He couldn't even remember the day it was taken. Back downstairs, he poured himself a drink with shaking hands. The amber liquid trembled in the glass. Sleepwalking stress, loneliness. The doctor's voice from years ago echoed in his mind. Children feel absence louder than words. He didn't sleep that night. At dawn, sunlight crept through the curtains, painting gold lines across the cold floor. Leo came down sleepy-eyed, dragging a blanket. Rosa handed him cereal. The boy didn't look at Ethan, just climbed onto the stool, silent. Ethan tried to smile. "Morning, champ." Leo's spoon clinked against the bowl. No reply. Rosa gave Ethan a small, almost pitying glance. "He doesn't talk much in the mornings," she said. "He never used to be like that," Ethan murmured. "No," she agreed softly. "He used to wait at the door for you." That day, Ethan canceled a meeting. He told himself it was exhaustion, but deep down he couldn't face another boardroom. Instead, he wandered through the house like a stranger. In Leo's room, he found drawings taped to the wall. Colorful crayon sketches of rockets, trees, and stick figures labeled "Me" and "Dad." In each picture, the father's face was a blur of scribbled gray. The realization struck harder than any market loss ever could. When Rosa came by that evening, he asked, "How bad is it? The sleepwalking?" "Some nights worse than others," she said. "When he's anxious or when he dreams you're gone." Ethan exhaled sharply. "But I provide everything. He has the best school, the best doctor." Rosa interrupted gently. "He doesn't need better things, sir. He needs you." The silence that followed was heavy. Ethan looked toward the staircase where the boy had nearly fallen hours before. All the wealth in the world, and he couldn't even protect his own son. That night, he tried to stay home, sitting outside Leo's room as the boy slept. He felt ridiculous. A CEO crouched in the hallway with a tablet full of unread emails, but he couldn't leave. Around midnight, Leo stirred. Ethan stood instantly, heart racing, but the boy only turned, murmuring something. "Dad," before drifting back to sleep. The single word felt like a knife and a balm at once. Days passed. Ethan began eating breakfast at home. He asked Leo about school, but the boy gave short, polite answers, like a stranger indulging small talk. The distance between them felt enormous, a wall of years built from silence. One afternoon, Ethan came home early and found Rosa dozing on the couch. Beside her, Leo was curled up, asleep against her arm. They looked peaceful, like mother and son. A pang of jealousy, or maybe shame, tightened his chest. Rosa woke with a start, flustered. "I didn't mean... It's fine," he said quickly, voice rough. "Thank you for watching him." She nodded, sensing something in his tone. "He feels safe when someone's there." Ethan turned away, unable to meet her eyes. He tried harder after that. Small things. Joining dinner, turning off his phone at the table, helping with a school project. But every attempt felt clumsy. Once when he burned the toast, Leo laughed, his first real laugh in weeks, and Ethan almost cried from relief. But the moment was brief. The boy retreated back into quiet. At work, his assistant complained that investors were asking questions about his absences. Ethan brushed it off. For the first time, he didn't care. Yet the tug of responsibility, money, reputation, still pulled at him. The balance was tearing him apart. One Friday night, his phone buzzed non-stop. Emails, reminders, a message from his business partner, flight to Zurich confirmed for tomorrow. "Need your signature by morning." Ethan stared at the screen, torn. The contract was worth millions. Missing it would make headlines. But then he heard a faint cry from upstairs. A child's cry. He dropped the phone and ran. Leo was sitting upright in bed, trembling, eyes glassy with fear. "Don't go, Dad," he whimpered. "You always leave." Ethan's knees gave way beside the bed. "I'm here," he whispered, voice breaking. "I'm not leaving this time." Rosa appeared in the doorway, her expression soft. She said nothing as Ethan wrapped his arms around his son, holding him for the first time in what felt like forever. That night, the mansion finally had sound. Quiet breaths, small murmurs, the creak of the floor beneath living feet. For once, the house felt alive. When morning came, Rosa found Ethan asleep on the floor beside the bed, Leo's hand resting on his father's chest. She smiled and quietly closed the door. When Ethan woke, sunlight was filtering through the curtains. Leo was gone, the bed neatly made. For a moment, panic jolted through him. Then he heard laughter from downstairs. The sound was small but bright, cutting through the mansion's usual stillness. He followed it barefoot, heart thudding. In the kitchen, Leo was showing Rosa a drawing. "Look, it's a rocket, and that's me." He looked up and froze when he saw Ethan. The laughter vanished. The boy lowered the paper as if caught doing something wrong. Ethan forced a smile. "That's a great rocket." Leo nodded slightly but didn't speak. Rosa glanced between them, then excused herself. "I'll be in the laundry room." Silence stretched between father and son. Ethan picked up a crayon from the table and crouched beside Leo. "You think maybe you could show me how you draw those stars?" The boy hesitated, then slid a blue crayon toward him. They sat there quietly, sketching side by side. For the first time, Ethan didn't rush. He didn't think about meetings or emails, just the slow, steady rhythm of color-filling paper. When they finished, Leo whispered, "You colored outside the line." Ethan chuckled. "Guess I'm a beginner." That earned a faint smile. It was small, but it felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. The following days, Ethan began leaving his phone upstairs during breakfast. He helped pack Leo's lunch. He even walked him to the gate one morning, ignoring the surprised look from the chauffeur. Rosa watched all this with a quiet satisfaction. Still, the old habits clawed at him. Every evening, his assistant sent urgent updates, each labeled high priority. Investors demanded calls, partnerships threatened collapse. One night, while helping Leo with math homework, Ethan's phone rang 5 times in 2 minutes. Leo's pencil stilled. "You can answer," the boy murmured. "You always do." The words cut deeper than any insult. Ethan turned the phone face down, silenced it, and said, "Not this time." Leo looked at him skeptically, but the gesture mattered. A small seed of trust began to take root. Later, when Leo was asleep, Rosa found Ethan on the balcony staring at the skyline. "You're changing things," she said softly. "Too late, maybe." "It's never too late to show up," she said. "Children don't need perfect fathers. They just need ones who stay." Her words lingered long after she left. The next morning, Ethan canceled 2 major meetings. He took Leo to the park for the first time in years. At first, the boy walked stiffly beside him, uncertain. Then, when a group of kids invited him to play soccer, Ethan encouraged him. Leo ran off laughing, his hair flying in the wind. Ethan stood watching, realizing how much of his son's life he'd missed. First steps, lost teeth, birthdays seen through screens. The thought crushed him. When they returned home, Rosa greeted them at the door, smiling. "He looks happy." "He is," Ethan said quietly. "And I didn't have to buy it this time." That night, as Leo slept peacefully, Ethan scrolled through old photos on his phone. Lavish events, business awards, foreign hotels, but none with his son. He deleted them one by one, feeling a strange relief each time. When he finally stopped, the gallery was almost empty. The following week, Rosa called in sick. It was the first time she'd missed a day since he'd hired her. Ethan was immediately overwhelmed. Burnt toast, spilled juice, misplaced keys, but Leo giggled through the chaos. "You're bad at breakfast," he teased. Ethan grinned. "Then you'll have to teach me." By the time Rosa returned, the house felt different. Warmer, alive. She found father and son building a pillow fort in the living room, both laughing uncontrollably. "You two have turned this place upside down," she said. Ethan winked. It needed turning. But change rarely comes without resistance. A week later, his business partner stormed into his office. "You're slipping, Ethan. We're losing clients because you've gone soft." "I'm not soft," Ethan said calmly. "I'm finally awake," the partner sneered. "Family man now, that's cute. But this company doesn't run on bedtime stories." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Then maybe it's time the company runs without me." The man blinked. "You'd walk away from everything?" Ethan didn't answer. He just looked out the window, remembering Leo's small hand gripping his that night on the stairs. For once, the decision felt easy. When he came home, Rosa was watering the plants. "You left work early again?" she asked. "I think I left for good," he said. She set the watering can down slowly. "That's a big step," he smiled faintly. "The biggest one I've ever taken." That evening, Ethan cooked dinner himself badly. The pasta stuck together, the sauce was too salty, but Leo insisted it was the best meal ever. They watched an old movie after, the kind with scratchy sound and silly dialogue. At one point, Leo leaned against his father's shoulder, yawning. Ethan froze, afraid to move, afraid to break the moment. When the credits rolled, Leo mumbled sleepily, "Can we do this again tomorrow?" Ethan's throat tightened. "Every day if you want." The boy smiled and drifted off right there. Rosa peeked in from the hallway, a knowing expression softening her face. Weeks passed, and the mansion transformed. The sterile silence was replaced by noise, footsteps, laughter, clattering dishes, bad piano notes. The staff whispered about how the boss had changed. Some called it a miracle, others a midlife crisis. But for Ethan, it was something simpler. Life, finally being lived. Still, one evening brought a test. An email arrived from an international firm offering him a seat on their global board, his dream position once. Rosa noticed the hesitation in his eyes as he read it. "That's a big opportunity," she said. "Maybe," he replied. "But Leo's school play is next week. You could go after—" He shook his head. "No, the old me would have said yes. The old me already missed enough." That night he sat by Leo's bed again, reading aloud until the boy fell asleep. He lingered, watching the slow rise and fall of his chest. The child who once walked in his sleep now rested peacefully, grounded by safety. Ethan whispered, "You're safe now, kiddo. I'm not going anywhere." Downstairs, Rosa stood in the doorway, her eyes glistening. "You kept your promise," she said softly. He nodded. I finally understood what it meant. Outside, the city shimmered with its endless rush, but inside that house, time slowed. The world no longer measured Ethan Marlowe by his net worth, but by the laughter echoing through his home. The night before Leo's school play, a thunderstorm rolled through Lacora Heights. Lightning flashed against the windows, thunder echoing over the hills. Ethan stood by Leo's door, watching him sleep, remembering the first night he'd seen the boy walking toward danger. He thought of all the moments he'd almost missed. Every bedtime story, every small laugh. Moments you can't buy back with money. Downstairs, Rosa was folding laundry when he joined her. She looked up. Nervous for tomorrow?" He smiled faintly. "You'd think I was the one performing." "You kind of are," she said, teasing. "Front row, Dad, big deal." He laughed softly. "It is now." Then came another flash of lightning, and the power flickered out. The house plunged into darkness. For a split second, the silence returned. That same cold quiet he remembered from months ago. But this time he didn't feel alone. He reached for a flashlight, found Leo's favorite night lamp, and lit the hallway. "Storm's just saying goodnight," he murmured to himself. The next morning, the sky was bright, washed clean. Ethan wore a simple shirt, no tie, no watch, nothing to signal wealth or rank, just a father. At the school auditorium, he sat near the front, clutching a small bouquet of flowers that looked awkward in his hands. Parents whispered when they saw him. The Ethan Marlowe, the man who once made front-page headlines for billion-dollar mergers, now just another dad in the crowd. When Leo stepped onto the stage dressed as a tiny astronaut, Ethan's throat closed. The boy's voice trembled at first, but when his eyes found his father's, something shifted. Ethan smiled, a small nod of reassurance, and Leo's voice steadied. He delivered his lines perfectly, laughter breaking out when he ad-libbed, "My dad says stars are closer when you look up together." The audience chuckled, but Ethan sat frozen, eyes burning. Rosa, sitting beside him, placed a hand over his. "That's your line now," she whispered. After the play, Leo ran straight into his father's arms. "Did you see me, Dad?" "I saw everything," Ethan said, hugging him tight. "You were incredible." Reporters outside the school tried to stop him for comments, but he waved them off, holding Leo's hand instead. "No interviews today," he said. "I'm busy being a dad." That evening, back at the mansion, Ethan cooked again, this time edible. Rosa laughed at his proud grin as Leo wolfed down spaghetti. "You've come a long way from burnt toast," she said. He winked, still working on the coffee. After dinner, Leo tugged at his sleeve. "Can we go look at the stars?" They went up to the rooftop terrace, Rosa following with hot cocoa. The city below glowed like a sea of constellations. Leo leaned against the railing, pointing. "That one's Orion, the hunter." Ethan looked up. "And that's Leo, the brave one." The boy giggled. "That's me?" "Always," Ethan said. They stayed there in silence for a while, watching the night unfold. Rosa excused herself, leaving them alone. The wind was cool, soft, alive with distant traffic hums and crickets. Leo spoke suddenly. "Do you miss your old job?" Ethan thought about it. "Sometimes. But then I think about what I'd miss if I went back." "Me?" He smiled. "You and everything that matters." Leo grinned and leaned his head against his father's shoulder. Downstairs, the phone rang. Once, twice. But Ethan didn't move. The sound faded, swallowed by the wind. Days turned to weeks, and life settled into rhythm. Every morning, Ethan drove Leo to school himself. Every evening, they had dinner together. Sometimes they argued. Sometimes they laughed till their sides hurt. Sometimes they just sat quietly watching cartoons. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. One Sunday, Rosa came to him with a small envelope. "What's this?" he asked. She smiled. "My resignation." He frowned, startled. "Rosa, no, you can't." "I think you don't need me the same way anymore," she said kindly. "You've learned to be his guardian yourself." He stared at her, heart heavy. "You were never just help, Rosa. You were the reason my son still believes in love." She touched his arm. "Then prove me right. Keep showing up." He nodded slowly, emotion catching in his throat. "Always." They hugged, and for the first time, it wasn't a goodbye born of guilt. It was gratitude. That night, Ethan and Leo sat in the living room building a puzzle. The TV played softly in the background, the smell of cocoa and popcorn filling the air. Leo looked up. "Dad, can we invite Rosa for dinner tomorrow?" "Of course," Ethan said. "She's family." Leo smiled. "Good. I made her a thank you card." Ethan's heart swelled. He didn't realize when tears started falling until Leo giggled, "You're leaking, Dad." He laughed through the tears. "Guess I am." The camera of memory zooms out, the once cold house now warm with laughter and life. Every surface that once echoed now vibrates with sound. A toy car rolling, a boy humming, a father cooking badly but happily. Outside, the city lights blinked against the night. Ethan stood by the window later, watching the reflection of his home behind him. Bright, alive, full of movement. He whispered softly to himself, "You finally woke up." Leo's voice came from behind him, sleepy. "Dad?" Ethan turned. "Yeah, buddy. Can you stay till I fall asleep?" He smiled. "Every night." Leo nodded, satisfied, and climbed back into bed. Ethan sat on the edge, running his fingers through the boy's hair. Within minutes, Leo's breathing slowed. Ethan stayed there long after, listening. The house creaked softly, alive again, not with loneliness, but with love. He looked at the framed picture on the bedside table, the old one replaced by a new photo of the three of them. Ethan, Leo, and Rosa at the school play, smiles real and bright. He whispered, "You saved us, Rosa, all of us." A soft breeze slipped through the half-open window, carrying the faint city hum, a reminder that the world outside still chased power and numbers. But in that quiet room, something purer thrived. As the camera metaphorically fades to black, Ethan's voice lingers in narration. "We build towers high enough to touch the clouds, but forget that the people we love live at ground level. It took losing almost everything to learn what I already had." He leans down, kisses Leo's forehead, and turns off the lamp. "Good night, son." "Night, Dad." The music swells softly, gentle piano, warm and reflective. The closing line fades in over the screen. Some houses echo with silence. Others learn to breathe again when someone decides to stay, a pause. Then Ethan's voice, breaking the silence once more, this time lighthearted, human. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe and share it. Someone you know might need the reminder that love isn't bought, it's given. Leave a comment about the person who taught you what real family means. The camera pans out, through the window, past the glowing house, up toward the stars Leo had pointed out. The light fades, leaving only one word on screen. Stay.